the entrepreneurial community. We love it here in Albuquerque. We get great crowds. So I want to thank you for coming out here this morning. How many people have not been to a 1 Million Cups before? All right. So yes. So if you
First
saw
time. I
someone
like it.
with their hand up, please say hi. We want to welcome them to our community. If you're one of the people who hasn't been here before, please you can pretty much talk to just about anyone. However, I will say that we, as the organizers, if you're looking to be connected with someone, that's one of our jobs, and we love it. It's one of our duties. I don't know. What's a better word for that? One of the things that we get to do is introduce people on a weekly basis. So, without further ado, a little bit more about what we do with 1 Million Cups. Each week, we have two entrepreneurs join us. They talk about why and how they started their company, how they've been growing it, any challenges or opportunities that they're facing right now. And then we have a discussion. We have about a 6-minute presentation, and then we have a discussion with our audience. So ideally, it's not just Q&A, but it really becomes a conversation about how we and the different talents that we've got represented in the room, how can they, what are the suggestions they have for the company. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit from each other, and we continue to grow our ecosystem. So you're all essential to making that happen, but you've already heard enough about me. We would like to invite Brandon with Apneo up to talk a little bit about his company. Yeah. We would like to invite Brandon Maker up with Apneo to talk a little bit about his company.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Brandon Baker, and I am the owner and CEO of Apneo. At Apneo, we're a software consultancy specializing in creating and developing highly polished iPhone and Android applications for enterprise and startups, as well as nonprofits. Today I want to talk to you about my experiences and challenges in starting a technology company here in New Mexico. And the most important question is why on earth would you start a company? That is the hardest way to provide an income. And so I'll give a little background about myself. At 19 years old, I was hired by a company in Portland, Oregon as an Android engineer. Looks like I'm stuck over here. As an Android engineer, I worked there for 3 years. I did really cool stuff. I created really exciting, fun, new Android applications for large and small clients alike. Then out of nowhere, July 21st, 2014, the vice president of the company called me and told me that my position with the company was no longer available and that I would have 10 days to get my affairs in order. Yeah. No severance, no nothing. I was just hosed. At the time, I was 22 years old. I left college to support my family. I had a wife, a kid, a house, bills, and just 2 weeks prior, we found out we were expecting another one. Ooh. It was a tough situation, to say the least. So back to the question is, why would I start a company? And for me, it was freedom, initially. And so, I would be able to forge my financial freedom as well as my create my schedule, or so I thought. Things change. And that previous W-2 position just left a very sour taste in my mouth, and I never wanted to put my family through that again. So that leads to how I started my company. As luck would have it, a month prior to being let go in that horrible situation, I was approached by a friend of mine, and he asked if I had wanted to do some Android contract work for his company. And so I said yes, and so I had been doing that for about a month. It was a little bit of income on the side, but that kept us afloat in the meantime. I started applying for W-2 positions all over the country as an Android developer. At the same time, I started foraging for more contract work. Eventually, the W-2 offers started coming in, and as I kept biding my time, I got some really great offers from really big companies all over the country. However, I also ended up landing a really great long-term contract with a company in New York. So I was at a crossroads. Either take a W-2 position and be secure, or start my own thing and create my own path. And so the W-2 position didn't feel right for myself or my family. and we took the entrepreneurial step and started my own company. The first year was a year, it was difficult. I lost sight of what I originally wanted to start the company for in the first place, which was freedom. I was working 16, 18-hour days, 6, 7 days a week. I didn't see my family. I was out of town constantly. So it was rough, to say the least. I was more working in my company as opposed to on it, and so I wasn't growing. I had zero growth, and it just wasn't a good place to be. The second year, however, I think I was actually almost in the second quarter of my second year, before I actually realized that I wasn't growing. I was sitting there stale. I had clients, and I was doing my 16, 18-hour days, and I realized that now I needed to start growing if I wanted that financial freedom, that ability to set my own schedule. And so at that point, I really dug down. I started working on my company. At that point, I started going out, meeting people, applying, networking, finding new leads as any way I possibly could. And that led to me being able to, at this point, currently be at 2 contractors, which I consider employees. They're really great guys, and they work for me. I spend more time on my company, as I said. I network, and I'm trying to get Apneo's name out there as much as possible. Challenges. There was more than a few. So the theme of all of this was working in my company as opposed to on my company. That's just not the way you want to grow as a business. And I found that out the hard way by just drowning myself in work, not being able to see my family, and just doing it that way. Another really big challenge for me has been marketing. I've tried things, all the marketing strategies, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, AdWords, networking, and all that kind of stuff. But the lead generation from those is really far and few between. So there's actually very few solid leads that come from all of those different avenues. And actually, the online marketing has been proven just about 0 leads. I mean, it drives up page traffic quite a bit, but no leads, which is unfortunate. So another big issue I've had is local staffing. I love the tangibility of meeting people, and so right now my contractors are in Portland and Minnesota, and they're really great guys. I know them previously, but I like I said, human interaction is great. I'm stuck in an office all day. I like to meet people. But finding really great talent here is, I found very hard. UNM is just a giant funnel for the labs, and so these people will get there and they're happy with their government position, and so it's unfortunate that they can't see the benefits of being able to work for a startup that can provide not just maybe one product, but we work over several products within a year. And another one, which is probably even tougher, is local clientele. Like I said, I'm out there trying to meet people, but the economic climate of Albuquerque and New Mexico at the moment is a little rough on a technology standpoint. We have very few entrepreneurs here, and I'm looking to change that. I want to get out there and meet as many people as I possibly can. I know there's people out there that are outsourcing this work that would probably prefer to keep it local. So that's something I would like to do. So for the future of Apneo, like I said previously, I want to grow out the New Mexico tech culture and really have this entrepreneurial culture thrive here. Because right now, it really isn't. I mean, we have Labu, we have Hold My Ticket, and maybe a few others, which is unfortunate. I mean, I think we could definitely be a really great technology city. We got the labs, we got UNM, which is one of the best electrical and computer engineering departments in the world. And so that's one of my goals with Apneo. So the next one would be diversifying my portfolio. I have 2 solid contracts right now with really, really great clients. However, I want to be able to diversify and not have so many eggs in one basket. And with that, that lends me being able to support hiring employees and all of the overhead that comes with employees. And I know for sure I don't want to stay a contractor model forever. So hiring employees is super important to me. Next one is continue growing, and I strive with this every day because I get short-sighted. You know, I see my agenda, I see all the work I have to do, and you know, I just focus mainly on that. But I also have to devote time to Apneo as opposed to just working in it and what needs to be done right there and keep it stagnant. And it's a lot harder than one might think. And number 5 is gain local clientele. You know, I want to meet local people that need software created. And you know, that lends back to number 1, growing the New Mexico tech culture. That was my presentation. Those are all Apneo's profiles, and thank you very much.
Questions?
So how did you land in New Mexico if you were up in Oregon?
Great question. I actually was born and raised here. I telecommuted in Portland, Oregon, and I did everything through Google Hangouts, Zoom, those types of things. And at that company, we did a methodology called Agile. So we checked in just about every 2 days to see where we're at, and so we were always in contact.
So one of the problems that I feel like we run into sometimes trying to use local talent to do software development is scalability and having the maturity in the community to go execute well, right?
Absolutely.
Test engineers plus integration plus.
Yeah,
There's a couple of recent graduates from, say, Intel, because they just got laid off, or the Gap, because they just got laid off, who have done enterprise scale work. Right. Have you thought about collaborating more closely with some of the people in this community to build a solid, heavy-duty software community here?
Absolutely.
I struggle with that today.
That's absolutely my goal. As I said previously, you know, Intel is definitely on my radar because I know some of those guys are looking for work.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm here to provide. I want to be able to provide jobs for, you know, really great software engineers here locally, right? I want this to be a New Mexico asset, and I want people to come here and be like, oh yeah, it's like another San Francisco. That kind of thing. So, buddy.
On your list of challenges, your first one was working on your company.
Yep.
One of the things that I think most of us as business owners have issues with is that exact same thing. Being able to work on your company and not have to focus working in it so much. Have you considered bringing on somebody as like an operations manager to help develop the protocols and procedures for internal processes? And have you identified some of the items that you could outsource in terms of the business side of the house?
Yes and yes. So the first one is finding somebody that I trust enough to run this new baby that I built. And so that's very challenging because no one's ever good enough for your daughter. Yeah. What was the second question?
Second question was whether or not you hire somebody as an operations manager, at least consult with somebody to develop the internal processes to be able to handle the business side of things, and then to identify of those what you can outsource.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
Marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't gone that route just yet, but I'm constantly iterating, right? I'm constantly changing, so I'm always open to changing to something that doesn't work that absolutely does work. And so that definitely could be one of them. One of my missions is, well, not even on my missions, it's more of a requirement. I won't outsource any software work out of the United States. Everything stays here, and that's just because I think the jobs need to stay here.
I'll introduce you to somebody because I've been in the same situation.
So on that not outsourcing tangent, we've got RSI coming into town.
Okay.
So I know they're over right across the street from where the table toy factory, and then there's also
On Paseo?
yeah,
No,
Silver.
Gold, okay. I had no
Silver.
idea where that is.
Yeah, they're moving to the old satellite building.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have AGDG, Albuquerque Game Developer Guild.
Interesting.
They meet Tuesday nights over at Cosmos. And, hopefully we can last one back over to Levitated because Jared has built that as purpose-built
Great.
station coding and all that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
How much of your time during the week is spent on production coding?
A majority. So I'm right now I'm about 10-hour days. So I cut about 6 hours out. I spend approximately 8 hours a day still coding, and 2 hours going out and trying to network, meet clients, and that's about on average.
Since you've already got 2 contractors on board, isn't the coding something you could easily outsource so that you can focus on the business side of things?
So, and then one of the biggest problems that I originally faced, that I probably actually should have put on here now that you mention it, was getting people to see Apneo as opposed to Brennan Baker, because I have a very specialized skill set that people like, and so it's a difficult task getting them to trust me that I can replace them with somebody that's just as good.
They'll never be as good.
No, absolutely not. However, I mean, I hope so. You know, I want to get to a point where I don't need to be the best. I want to hire the best. You behind there.
Even though New Mexico isn't receptive to technology right now, what brings you here other than for
Absolutely. So, I've been all over the United States, at least the tech meccas, and they're fun to visit, right? But I always come back here, and I love it here. For one, the cost of living is fantastic. Right? Yeah, you don't have to make too much money to live like way better than these guys do in San Francisco that make millions. Another thing is we have family here. We're grounded here for the most part. I've had with those W-2 positions, that most of them I would need to have relocated, but that's just not something that was appropriate for my family. We, like I originally said, we really love Albuquerque, and this is where we want to stay, make our forever home.
So I own Noventum Custom Software. Now, I'm in a fairly similar position to you. I also have 2 contractors that work for me very regularly. A challenge that I just went through was actually separating Brian Steiner from Noventum Custom Software. And what I ended up having to do, customer needed to up some work. I've been with them for a long, long time. We were sort of changing the scope. And the new agreement that I wrote specifically outlined that Brian Steiner was not Noventum Custom Software, that my additional guys had their permission to work on the code. And redefining those relationships is hard. I mean, I walked away from that. You know, a customer that I've been with for about 2 years, they weren't willing to redefine that relationship, so I ended it. And you'll have to decide whether or not you want to do that or you want to continue to be the guy behind the keyboard for everything.
Yeah, and so one of the bigger clients that I have that's like I think about 80% of my revenue. They're this, you know, Brennan is what we want, not Apneo. And July 1st, they're fired, and I'm getting another replacing them that same day.
So tell us, who's your ideal client? What's your ideal project? So we can get the word out for you.
So ideal project is really just about anything exciting, right? Like, we're a general company. We're not specialized in anything. Software excites me, and the people I hire, it needs to excite as well, and that passion flows into their work. And so, if I believe in it, then I'll work with you. However, if I don't think I can bring success to the client, I'll let them know, but I'll try and push them in the right direction. An ideal client, somebody who pays on time.
We all appreciate that.
That's really hard.
Can you give us a couple of examples, perhaps, of the things that you've developed so that we can adjust that?
Faith Comes by Hearing is in the bottom floor here. Yeah, they're local nonprofits. They have a suite of applications. I think I've done maybe 6 Android applications for them specifically, and I have 2 of my contractors on them as well doing other things. Intel was another one that
What are these applications?
So Bible is their mission is to get the Bible to as many people in the world in their native tongue as possible, right? So you pick it up, you can select your language, and you can just pull up the Bible and all the different Bibles. And so that's Bible is. They also have Deaf Bible for deaf people. They sign languages mainly through video. That was another one. Amazon Fire TV they have another one for there, which is basically just a radio stream. I did a Google Glass application for them. You can talk to it. You say, "Read me Matthew 1," and it would start reading you Matthew 1. Or you could read it through, and those kinds of things. Intel was an enterprise project. It was more of an inventory tracker. So you have an Android device, you have an RFID scanner. These people in the warehouses all over the world, in India and such, can go in these warehouses, use the RFID chips that are in the tablets and computers and that sort of thing, pull up the serial numbers, click it, check it in at that location, and use it that way. The Daimler Trucking North America was another one. So they have a really cool grant from the United States government to build this super truck, and basically it's a hybrid semi. And you can monitor all the different systems that are going on within the truck. Apneo created the interface between the truck and the tablet. So over Wi-Fi, it would connect to the CAN bus, and you could view your miles per gallon and all the fun stuff. And those are just a few.
So it sounds like one of the problems you're having is finding the right people. If you were going to hire more people, what types of skills are you looking for?
So I'm more about hiring people for people for the most part. I think skills can be learned. The passion is the first thing I look for. So in my interviews, I probably sound a little nuts just because I ask some off-the-wall questions, but to me that gauges how involved they are in their craft. Because in software, that is absolutely important. If you're not, you get burnt out. You just don't care about the work. It's crappy overall. So passionate employees are something I'm looking for first and foremost. If they're passionate and they've got the skills, you're hired.
So,
well, right now, Android development, so Java, Swift, Objective-C, PHP for backend, Ruby, basically the main ones.
So moving forward, taking you as the brand and you as the person that people are going after, and then switching everything over to Apneo, how would you define your brand when you're talking to someone else about your company and starting to remove yourself from the equation? What do you really see your brand as?
So one of the biggest things that I've had a problem saying is like not I built, but we built, and it's more of a collective when I'm talking as opposed to a singular me, because even though I did most of this stuff, Apneo really is the overall entity that housed this stuff, and it's more of an internal struggle for that, right? So it was a mindset change. I think I've got there where now I don't accidentally use the wrong verbiage like, oh, I created this is what Brandon did. But
again, like say in your marketing materials,
yeah.
What do you define your brand as? Are you exciting? Are you extremely systematic? Are you very particular about what exactly are those words that people you want to hear from people about yourself?
So I think one of the big separations between Apneo and most other software consultancies is we are as equally about software as we are about relationships. most of these other consultancies, they treat clients like lepers and like liabilities. So they hire somebody to go and manage their clients, and they keep them from causing too much damage. And I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Without my clients, I'm nothing, right? Like I'm not a company, so they're an asset to Apneo, and I think that shows first and foremost. So I'm about building lasting relationships as well as great quality software. And I think people can really connect with that, especially people who have used other services in the past.
Maybe one more question? Or, yes?
What's your gut instinct on joint ventures and partnerships with your firm going forward? What do you want to see help you grow?
Good question. I haven't thought about that one. So I've been really focused on myself building this up so far. I haven't. Again, it's easy to just laser sight in. So I haven't given too much thought about even bringing on a partner or someone else to help with the operations. But it's definitely something that I should probably think about as a serious option.
Sort of a different version of the same question. What can we as a community do to help you grow?
That's a funny question because I think I'm here to help the community, but I just want to get out there and meet people. If you have anybody who needs a job who has really great skills and is passionate about software, I'd love to meet them. If you have anybody who needs any kind of software built, again, I would love to meet them. But again, I think we're here as companies to help the community, and the community should probably not have to worry about how to help us.
Cool.
All right, thanks very much.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to a few sponsors just a second. So we've got Technology Ventures Corporation, throwing up a couple of the Twitter handles over there if you like. Savio Systems, if you like coffee and the tea, we want to thank those folks. In addition to that, we've got Brian in Noventum. Yeah, we've got Candy over here. We've got Brian with Noventum over there. Fat Pipe ABQ, great place to bring our community together on a regular basis. Like, how many, there's, what, about 25 events every day now? Is that? It's going pretty well. But there's also a ton of work and other things making things happen here as well. In addition to that, we've got Booyah Media, Emergent Wave, Nick Lehman Media, who's not here this morning, the CNN Stimulus Center, and we want to thank Hartford Square.
And Lab to Venture.
And Lab to Venture, we want to thank when is that, sir? Next week. The 18th, and I think there's some information. Sign up at techventures.org. You can also find more information at Lab2Venture on their Twitter handle. You can see Steve, is Valerie in the back someplace? Yes, we've got Valerie and Todd in the back. Thank them for supporting this operation, but also Lab2Venture coming next week. A few different events. So this Friday is the deadline for TEDx ABQ applications. If you've got an idea, if you've got something you're working on that you want to inspire others in our community and around the world, the local TEDx ABQ event is one of the sort of premium TEDx events that happens around the world. So please consider submitting an application or spread the word to those friends and colleagues you have who might also have those kind of great ideas. In addition to that, we're going to hear a little bit from ABQ ID in a second. Creative startups, their applications open. Another accelerator here for creative industries, creative startups. Their application opens on May 23rd. Later that week, there is a night of innovation. 2 different events that are happening sort of in collaboration with each other. The Albuquerque Business First is doing Innovate NM, and that's at Civic Plaza from 5 to 7 p.m. Some of the people, how many people are participating in Innovate NM with Albuquerque Business First? We've got Gordon over there, we've got Buckle Down Systems, we've got a few other folks in the room. Yes, we've got a gentleman by the name of Gary Opedal. Anyway, there's a lot of great things that are happening that's going to be taking place downtown at Civic Plaza. Following that, everyone who's got a ticket to that and everyone who chooses to pay another $10, we'll go over to El Rey where there's something of an after party, and we will do a demo night that includes the launch of ADME from ULM. We'll hear from RiskSense and App City Life and a few other local folks. So you can talk to me or Julia. Can you raise your hand? Yes. If you want to learn a little bit more information about that. Without further ado, ABQ ID is just an amazing, and there's also SFID. So So basically, one of the things that they're doing and really has been a great spark in our community, growing our entrepreneurial community, is getting mentors out of the community to help grow companies. So one of the people who's really mastered that, or on the road to mastering the path, is Bill Costel, who's also with SCORE, and he's going to tell us a little bit about some events that they've got coming up later this month.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, I'm Bill Costel, SCORE Certified Mentor and the ABQ SFID Mentor Liaison. And I am here to kind of announce that the summer program for ABQID is about to start. Based on a lean startup curriculum that Steve Blank, Eric Reese, philosophy is really starting to take hold here in Albuquerque. Matter of fact, I see a business model canvas right back out there. Who knows what I'm talking about when I say lean startup? Fantastic. Who has actually read one of the books and actually applied it? Fantastic. This is an application of a trend that is sweeping through the country over the last 5 years. And it is the basis of what is going on at ABQID. 5 to 18 cohort. We've narrowed down the applications, dozens of applications, down to 18, and going through and listening to their pitches over the last week or so. And it's kind of neat that about a third to a half of the companies actually have made their pitch here at 1 Million Cups. So they have the practice, they have the foundation. It's a 12-week program. It starts at the beginning of June, goes through the summer, last week of August is demo day. There's going to be Monday and Wednesday sessions, education sessions on Mondays, application lab on Wednesdays. And I am here to make the pitch that we need mentors. There's a number of different ways that you can be a mentor. You can become a general mentor. You can actually, people become mentors for a number of different reasons. They could be potential investors, they could be altruistic, or they just want to, their own personal growth and learn about and apply these lean startup methodologies. So become a lean startup methodology expert, learn alongside the cohort, apply it as you're going along. And then we also need team-specific mentors, people that can give custom advice and guidance to a specific team. General, applied, help all the different teams. Team-specific, focus on just one. And what I'm really here to try and do is to recruit you to become a mentor and attend one of our mentor orientation sessions that are coming up in just 2 weeks. On May 23rd or May 25th from 3 to 5, we're going to give a primer on lean startup, what's expected, how you can participate. So if you have the time and inclination or know somebody, and that's the important thing, if you know somebody that has the time or the inclination to become a mentor at ABQID, please direct them or yourself to this email address, send an email, say I'm interested, and we'll get you rolling. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Amazing things are happening. Speaking of amazing things, I'm trying to remember, I first met Gordon Klein, it was about maybe 2 years ago, and he showed me this device. He said, here, let me show you this thing. And then, I don't know, it wasn't that much longer, much later, that I think you'd applied for a couple different things. You were part of a pitch competition. And then we spent a little bit of time having some fun in Austin during South by Southwest. So I just, I love entrepreneurs. We've heard from Gordon before, but one of the things that we like to do here with 1 Million Cups is occasionally bring back some folks to tell us a little bit about progress. Are there challenges and other things that they're facing now? Kind of the story down the road. So we're going to hear a little bit from Gordon Klein and Scorested.
Thanks a lot. So fortunately, we don't face any challenges. So I'm just going to talk about success. All right, so what I want to talk about is, some of you might have heard the story and seen the product. I want to talk a little bit about the why of Scorestic. Where did it come from? What are we doing? What is it? talk a bit about what we've done, especially in the last year since we went to South by. And then look at some of the challenges. What are we facing? What's coming next? What are we looking at? All right. So why sports tech? So you may or may not. You guys hear me back there? Okay. Good. A little louder. Is that better? Thanks. All right. So whether you're really a sports fanatic or not, how many people in this room are wearing a wearable device right now? Just a handful, really, sort of early adopters. Well, if you follow sports technology at all, you look at what Steph Curry's doing right now. Every professional athlete is being monitored out the wazoo. Wearables are insane. They are monitoring everything you can imagine and trying to figure out what all this data and monitoring really means, how to use it, how to display it, how to work with it. So there's a sports technology explosion from a wearables perspective for sure. It's also from the equipment perspective. I like to say that every type of sports equipment out there is being fitted with chips. There's data from everything. That's the 9450 basketball. There are probably a dozen basketballs like that now. You can have a report on your phone of everything you did in practice, your average arc and your shot, and blah, 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 blah. Unbelievable amount of data coming out of sports. Speaking of data, there are a million apps looking at how to push that data out to the world, how to use it on an individual basis, on a group basis, on a community basis, on a social basis. So there's data everywhere. So sports technology is just taking off, an exploding industry for sure. Yet, in hundreds of thousands of amateur gyms across this country, that's the technology on the wall. That is not the future of technology for the gym. That is the future of technology for the gym. Simple to use, run from an iPad, tablets, laptops, phones, digital interface that does much more than just the game. Okay, so trying to do a great job of the game. You'll see this. I'm going to talk about more kind of where we've gone, what we're doing. This is a new interface that we've learned a lot in the last year, and we're actually rolling out this summer in our next release, a new interface both for the scoreboard and with the controller itself for ScoreStick. So let's talk a little bit about how we got to where we are. Oh, no, wait. Let's talk about something else first. What do our customers think about this stuff? So, yeah, okay, I got this new interface we're about to come out with, and how have we done? We just released a new testimonial video from RFK Charter School down in the South Valley. It's up on our website. And the dean, Pete, says stuff like, hey, this is so easy to use. The parents love it. We use it for so many different things. We use it after school. We use it in gym class. We use it for putting messages up when we have community events. It's new technology for the gym, and every school should have one. And Coach Panas says, man, this is like a mini Dallas stadium. All right, love that guy. So we're having some really great reaction from customers. People love the idea of better technology and what this does for your gym. There's a lot of potential there. We're working on other testimonials. We'll be filming in another school this afternoon. So that's what our customers think. What have we actually achieved from a customer perspective? How have we grown? How's the last year gone? We used South by Southwest to sort of officially announce our release 1 last year. So a year ago, we rolled it out. At that time, we had just a few beta customers around town, indoor soccer facility, and one school in the North Valley. We landed a great agreement with Albuquerque Public Schools, and just recently we finished the second phase of implementation in all the middle schools in APS. So as of today, 26 middle schools have ScoreStick systems in the gym. There's still a couple more waiting to get them in the coming weeks. As well as a follow-on agreement, we just submitted quotes for a whole other set of phase 3 with APS. So fantastic. We also just got POs with UNM. We're going to be installing ScoreStick systems in Johnson Center. So we've never been after the pit. Not after Dallas Stadium. I'm not trying to compete with the big boys, but there's a huge opportunity across this country, across the world, in the amateur gyms. Right? And amateur gyms include all of the intramural gyms in universities across the country. So we're going to install 4 different systems in the Johnson Center this summer. So big, exciting opportunity for us there. We also just got POs for our first school outside of Albuquerque. And this is actually a great story. The principal at this school was the assistant principal at one of the middle schools here in town. She got the job as principal at Los Lunas and called us and said, hey, first thing I want to do as principal is I want to put ScoreStick in the gym. Fantastic. So we're supposed to install that next week. So that's kind of where we are from a customer perspective, starting to slowly, carefully kind of work our way outside of Albuquerque. And that kind of brings up where we are as a business. So let's look at where we've come from. We started, you might remember a similar slide to this if you saw me talk a year or so ago. Eric Reese, Steve Blank, I think they'd be pretty proud of what we've done at ScoreStick. We've absolutely taken a lean approach. We literally built the first version of our product on a Raspberry Pi. It was ugly as heck, but we installed it with our first beta customer, and then we sold it to our following beta customers at cost. But from the very beginning, we sold it, and we built one step at a time. We built a soccer interface. We built a volleyball interface. One step at a time, just kept rolling it out based on what the customers have told us. So in 2015, at South by, we basically went to market with the modern scoreboard. Let's see if we really have customer fit, if this thing's really going to work. I showed you the traction we've had. That's great. That's what our interface looks like today, and that's what we've been riding on for the last year. I have watched dozens and dozens and dozens of basketball games live, run the scoreboard myself, and learned a lot about what it really takes for a parent to step in. And if you've ever done it, stepping into one of those old school controllers in a gym running the game can be very daunting. Even on our night's interface, we've learned a lot about what really works for people. So that's where we've come up with the new design that we're coming out with this summer. So we're working on what we'll call release 2 of ScoreStick. And there's a lot we're actually really targeting trying to do here. Not only are we coming out with a new interface for the scoreboard itself and the controller, super easy to use, high discoverability, usability, we're also creating the cloud. We're connecting it to the cloud. And so we're pushing data up from a couple of test systems now. So in real time, the scoreboard data from the school is being pushed up to a website and then pushed back down to phones. So that's a big effort we're making right now. That Brandon's thinking about, man, that should be my next Android app. So that's some of what we're working on right now. There's a lot there. And we're working with our customers to test this stuff out. We're working with our customers to get the right permissions and agreements in place to get their scoreboards connected to the web. And there's a lot going on with those types of relationships. So that's a sort of snapshot of where we are now, what we're targeting in 2016, where we're trying to get to. When I look at a bigger picture of what we've had in mind with ScoreStick, sort of from the beginning, we're going to market with the modern scoreboard. Now we're connecting it to the web with the goal of then pushing it truly to mobile, so the parents who can't be at the game can have the scoreboard on their phone and know, can I make it to the second half? Same story. The eventual vision is more media platform, technology for the gym. We've already got schools using it in all kinds of different ways. It's not just a scoreboard. Use it for school gatherings, use it for social gatherings, use it for education. So there's a lot of possibilities there with the media platform perspective. But when I look at the bottom here, what about revenue? How are we making money on this thing? Today, we're selling hardware, and we've started selling support on top of it, ongoing support. So those are the first two pieces we're working on. With part of our bigger picture goal has been from the beginning, hey, advertising opportunity. Wow, everybody gets excited about that. Screens in gyms across the world, huge potential there. But we're not making money on that yet. That's something we're still working on. We're actually talking with APS about what would it look like to have good, healthy advertising in your gyms, and what would it take to make that work for you and work for us. So we still got a lot of discovery, really, and agreements to get in place to make those things work. In the longer term, there's even a lot of possibilities. Sports technology has exploded. There's all this data in the gym. And where does it go? Well, yeah, sure, we can push it to the scoreboard, we can push it out to the web. It's a connection capability for technology that's popping up in the gym like crazy. There's a lot of potential there for data integrations. I'd love to see ways to find really good, healthy educational content that can be put up on the scoreboard. I don't just want to put Big Macs up on the scoreboard. My kids go to these schools, and what I want to put up there is something that's really going to be healthy for the schools themselves. So what kind of advertisers and sponsors and local governments are going to be interested in putting that kind of content in every gym in the city? So, lots of questions there. So we find ourselves at a really, pretty typical point. we've gotten to this point where we've got a product that people want. Customers like it. We're getting a really positive reception. We're continuing to build capabilities. We hear a lot of great feedback about, oh, we would love to have it pushed to the phones. And, oh my gosh, rural schools would just love the idea of parents knowing what's going on in the game because they can't even get to the game. So we've got some great fit that way, but we're very small. We've started the same story as Brandon. We're a small outfit, and how do we grow from here? So we're looking at those questions about, hey, we want to start moving outside of Albuquerque. We want to start spreading. What do we need to have in place? How do we approach it? How do we approach growth in general? So one of the questions there has to do with truly the business model itself. When we look at the business model of selling scoreboards versus the business model of selling advertising, there's a big difference there. So still evaluating where we stand from a business model perspective of how we're approaching this scoreboard market. We've taken an approach of I want to get a footprint out there. We're selling really good deals to these schools here in Albuquerque. And we're looking again at our pricing model, we're looking at our support model, trying to figure out what's the right way to make that business actually scalable on its own, while we're also looking at the longer future, the brighter future of advertising and other possible revenue streams. So when I look overall, wow, that's a perfectly lousy position slide. Yeah! So I spent a lot of time on this slide. I just threw kind of the key things that are on our mind. We're looking at everything, right? We're looking at how we're going to grow. So we're looking at partnerships, we're looking at our team, we're looking at funding, we're looking at competition. Hey, we now have competition. In the last year, another company has come up doing exactly the same thing we're doing. If you listen to their pitch, go to their website. They're called Score Vision. Don't go there. But if you listen to their founder's pitch, they're saying the same exact words as me. It's the same stuff. So great market validation. They've got money. They're moving faster than us. I'm hoping to learn from their mistakes and not repeat them. So we're looking at competition. We're looking at partnerships. Again, really badly placed slide. We're looking at partnerships from a bunch of different perspectives. We're looking at AV hardware, the TVs, the things we install. We're looking at the installation on the right there that you can't read. We're looking at sales. We're looking at sales and what was my number 4? Oh, and sponsorships. Right? We're not an advertising house. We're not a sponsorship house. So we're looking at trying to align these partnerships. We're in discussions with AV integrator firms about providing hardware installations as well as potentially sales. And we're very much looking for how to define partnerships to help us on the advertising and sponsorship side. So not trying to do it all on our own, looking at what kind of help we can bring in to help us succeed.
Yeah! No challenges, I love it. I'm going to bring up the big question. Advertising in middle schools, that's a dangerous territory. Where do you define the line?
So, it's a good question, right? Now, my first answer would be that the old scoreboard in most of those schools, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard the question, I want to make sure you heard that. The question was, advertising in middle schools, advertising in schools in general. Whoa, hold on, is that acceptable? Can we do that? And my first response is, the gym tends to be something that people have always seen differently. Most of the scoreboards that are there today say Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Advertising is already a part of it and somehow feels more like advertising to parents, not just advertising to kids. Nonetheless, it's a sensitive subject. So I've had conversations with my champions at APS, and this picture right here, I put this one up because this is one that I think caught their attention. You know, I'm talking about sponsorships, I'm talking about internal communication, I'm talking about being able to reach out to your community, I'm talking about being able to put good, healthy messages up there. So I don't want to put Big Macs up there.
So how do you define what a good, healthy message is?
With the schools. Okay, my best answer, right? So meeting again with them next week to talk about that some more. Because it's not going to be me. It's got to come from them. What kind of content do you guys want? So when I look at partnerships, I look at the state, One of the schools that actually has our system is looking at public service type announcement messaging that they're already putting up in their school and saying, oh, we've got a screen in the gym that we could use for that? Wow. So what would that look like?
Two-part question. The first thing you said, you mentioned, are you an advertising company? Are you looking at advertising sales primarily or hardware sales? Where do you kind of lean on that today?
Well, today I'm only selling hardware. So question was, are we really looking at hardware or are we really looking at advertising? And today, our revenue is hardware and support. Right? So that's where we're starting. How do we get from one to the other?
Because the big reason I asked that is, I got down there in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where your primary competition when Robertson High School leaves Las Vegas is the mom on Twitter, who she's the score, she's funneling the info out. So I'm wondering, like for big events like the state basketball tournament, where all the small rural areas come to the pit, you're not putting a sign there, but maybe leading with the ability to use the app, put small advertising on there, let that be kind of a revenue maker for the hardware. From there, you have that gateway of, hey, we advertised at the tournament. Would you like that?
Right. That also potentially, so the advertising opportunity of the app, if we're pushing the data out to everybody's phone and they can get it here, well, that's probably an easier place to talk about, hey, I'm gonna control the advertising here, or have an agreement with the school about sharing advertising here, but certainly a much less sensitive target.
Have you ever considered partnering with or targeting in terms of marketing PTA organizations? Because those seem to be, they do a lot of fundraising for equipment for schools, for one. It's moms who understand the importance of media, and engagement with the audience within the school as well.
Thought a bit about it. The question was, have we partnered with PTA organizations and talked to PTA organizations about sponsorships and funding and getting these things in? Not enough. We've had a few conversations with booster clubs, which tend to be more at the high school level. You'll notice that the majority of our installs are, the vast majority of our installs are at the middle school level. We're just starting to move into the high school realm. So boosters has been kind of a target, but we don't have great relationships there now. PTAs would be another interesting one too.
So are indoor gyms your primary focus, or are you trying to also expand out to maybe like football fields where you have like direct sunlight on these screens?
So we're trying to stay focused on the indoor. We think there's enough opportunity there that we don't need to go outdoor and complicate our lives, because the install and the screens is really mostly a question of cost. Again, the question was, hey, are we looking outdoor as well as indoor? We're really focusing on indoor right now. And a lot of it is that those outdoor screens are very expensive. And just the complexity, I don't think we need to go outdoor and complicate our lives with that yet.
With budget cuts happening everywhere, athletic departments are getting all the budget. Have you looked at splitting the revenue of marketing with the athletic department so that they dictate who the advertisers are and they get some of the money to fund their athletic department?
Yeah, that's exactly what we've discussed with every school that we talk to about. It's an opportunity for both of us. I think it can be a win-win. Yeah, exactly.
Great progress, by the way, and I wanted to ask you, what have you learned the most from beta to now?
What have we learned the most from beta to now? The first thing that comes to my mind is 16 hours a day. What have I learned the most? I think that we're still in a phase, scoreboard sounds so simple. It's just a scoreboard, right? But what we've learned the most is how people really use these things and what the parent or the teacher or the athletic director or the student actually experiences when they sit down at that table to use our system. Right? And it's really learning about the user experience, really learning about the profile of our customers, and it's important because it affects not just keeping score, but it affects, hey, how are you going to do advertising? Part of what we're working on in this next release is advertising has to be completely automatic. You can't depend on the parent who's running the scoreboard for this game to say, hey, it's advertising time, let's turn it on. It's got to be all just an embedded part of the process, and it's got to be simple.
A couple of things. I would say we talk with ad agencies and partner up with them, so we go to different cities. You can just another product and pitch their clients or territories working with advertisers. You can
started. I've had some conversations with some folks that have a good idea of what they've done. Some of that helps and works for us, and some doesn't.
Gordon, so, I mean, not counting if someone said, hey, here's a couple $1 million to go do what you want.
What are you saying?
So not counting straight up cash, right, investment. What kind of partnerships, you touched on, you're looking at some partnerships to help you scale. What would be, if you had an intro or connection or some kind of contract that sooner than later you could get in place with some other group, team person would really jump the business forward?
So there's two I'm talking to now that kind of answer that question. And again, the question was, what kind of partnerships are we really looking at to help? I think you're kind of talking about especially the operations kind of side of how we're going to scale. So we're talking with AV integrators, people who install screens and sound systems in auditoriums and stadiums and schools and all kinds of things. They're a very logical partner. They already do the installation side and sales side of this, so we could fit very nicely into a portfolio of systems that they sell. The other is looking at, we have currently outsourced all of our installation and sort of hardware sales to local Albuquerque outfits. But that's not very scalable either. So talking to Best Buy and Geek Squad about what would a partnership maybe look like to have them be our installer that has instant footprint across the country. So if anybody has a good contact within Best Buy or the Geek Squad division of Best Buy, I'd be very interested to know that. I'm kind of starting at the bottom level and talking to my sales rep at Best Buy Business, but I'd love to get a better contact if anybody has one.
What is your duration cycle to develop an MVP that eventually develops a product that you can sell? Can you talk about that?
So the question was, what is our cycle, what's our development cycle look like to get from MVP to something we're actually selling? So we are on currently, our customers are on release 1. So I can't tell you that our cycle is this repeatable process that we've done again and again. Our cycle in the first stage was literally build soccer in a very simple, the simplest thing we could produce and put up, and got a beta customer to put it up and use it, get their feedback, improve it. So from a time perspective and from a process perspective, because we're so small, you can say we're using some agile principles, we run our software development through an agile tool, agile management tool, but really we're so small, it doesn't need to be a very sophisticated, large team type of agile process. Does that help?
Yeah. All right, one super quick question, and then we've got to close it up.
You were talking about you've got the one competitor. What are they doing right, and what is it? Do they have more funding which allows them better marketing, or is it something different that's allowing them to grow faster?
My opinion is, the question was, what is our competitor doing better than us, really? What is their biggest advantage? And at this point, I'd have to say it's funding.
But how are they using that funding?
How are they using that funding? As far as I understand, right? I'm trying to dig in and learn all I can. As far as I understand, they're using that funding to do development much faster than we are. And they're able to pay a sales force that's going out and expanding and growing organically.
All right, the last, how can we as a community, you already said it, but one or two things, how can we as a community help?
You can help us by getting the word out. If you know of anybody you think, any facility that might be interested in this system and what it could do, point them my way.
Yeah!
Awesome.
All right, thanks very much for reporting, and let's say thank you all for coming out today. If you're interested in joining us and making a presentation here at 1 Million Cups, we're not particularly scary. The application process is relatively straightforward and pretty quick. You simply go to 1mcabq.com. That can let you know a little bit about future events and what 1 Million Cups is, but it also lets you know, it gives you an application to help get us started. If you're interested in that, but you're not necessarily ready to do the application, come join me, Charles, and Steve over here at the side to talk a little bit about how you might make a presentation or how we might encourage you and your company to get up here. And we want to thank you again for being part of a great entrepreneurial community. And of course, Jenny has an announcement.
Albuquerque Soul, our favorite soccer team, is having a game tonight at 6:30. It's U.S. Open, and it's a real special tournament that they're only having one game here. So tonight, same time at 6:30, be there.
ABQ Soul Football Club, the team for the Albuquerque entrepreneurial community tonight at St. Pius? Yes. 6:30. Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. Bye.